Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today, me and my group are going to presentating about assessing reading. Okay, in this group, there are Amelia Putri Salihah, Anissa Nur Aini, and myself, Dinita Tera Maharani, Marcelina Saputri, and Karen Gabriel Wardana. Okay, for the first slide of definition assessing reading will be delivered by Karen Gabriel. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Janita. So, reading assessment are meant to provide feedback on the skills, process, and knowledge resource that represent reading abilities. For full explanation, you can see on the slide. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the first slide is the Batchman and Palmer framework. So the Batchman and Palmer framework is intended to enable language tester to describe both language test task and TLU or target of language use task. Okay, as you can see, I will explain from the first characteristic of the setting. In the design of language tests, physical factors, participant relationship, and task scheduling are crucial consideration. This is especially true for computer-based assessment, where a fair rating depends on participants being aware of the equipment. Okay. Second is characteristic of the test rubric. Uh, Effective language test design involve prioritizing clear instructions, considering challenges like time allotment and scoring methods, and aligning tasks with real reading purposes to enhance comprehension and authenticity. Okay, the third is characteristic of the input. So in reading tasks encompass the format, language, types, fitness, and vehicle of the materials, and while the language is vital for determining test difficulty, the topic is complex, context-specific, and challenging to classify. And next is characteristic of the expected response. In test of language use or TLU, response characteristics like channel, form, language, and length are frequently unpredictable, and the focus on response type like selected, limited production, or extended production could be limiting and unnecessary. And the last is relationship between input and response can be classified by three criteria. First is directness, like direct or indirect. Second is scope, broad or narrow. And the last, reactivity, adaptive, non-adaptive, or reciprocal. So this make it easier to comprehend what the test taker is expected to do. That's all from me. The next material will be explained by Amelia.
Okay, thank you, Karen. The next is test in the real world, test purposes. Regarding to Bahman and Palmer, test development as having three main components such as design, operationalization, and administration. An alternative model is taken from Alderson, involving the following stage of test construction and evaluation. There are identified test purpose, developing test specification, guidelines for and training of item or text writers of their products, pretesting, analysis of results and revision of tests, training examiners and administrator, monitoring examiner reliability, reporting scores and setting pass marks, test validation, post-test reports, and developing and improving tests. Next slide, please. Okay, there are 4 testing situations. The first situation to identify the level of reading ability. The second situation to identify those intending postgraduate students. The third situation to identify where readers' strengths and weaknesses might lie. In the fourth and final testing situation is deal with the assessment of reading ability in a foreign language for a national school leaving examination. And each situation has different rubric characteristics. Okay, that's all for me, and the next will be explained by Zenita.
Yeah, I will be presenting about a technique of testing reading. So the first is the close and gap filling test, as you ever see around here. And there are two types. The first is when we are given a word bank to fill in the gap, and the second type is where we have to fill in the gap without any word bank. Okay. Next is multiple choices. According to Jack Obser, he said that multiple choice is the commonest way for assessing reading. But there are five disadvantages of this, as you can see on the screen. And then we have ordering task, where candidates are given a scrambled set of words, sentence, paragraph, or text as a fig. Okay, next. There also short answer tests, where we are given a short paragraph and then a short question, and we are expecting to answer a short answer. Okay, the next is the summary test. So according to the J. Charles Anderson's this approach is we are given a paragraph and then we have to summary what is the main point of the paragraph. Okay, the next material will be presented by Marcelina. Time is yours.
Okay, so here the development of reading ability. So the first one we have strategies as to assess reader comprehension and proficiency. The first one we using authentic text like newspaper and other. The second one design of the task to require specific reading skills, and the third one is incorporating different question types. The fourth one assessing reading strategies, and fifth, considering metacognitive abilities. Six, using multiple methods and techniques. And the last one is considering the context and purpose of reading. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so here we have the skills when assessing reading. We have 15 points here, but I will just mention 4 or 5. The first one is retrieving specific information by scanning the text, interpreting the text for inference, attitude, and style, demonstrating understanding of the text as a whole. And the next one is selecting relevant information required to perform a task. And the last one, demonstrating understanding of how text structure operates. For for another skills, you can read on the screen. Next slide, please. These the other skills when we assessing reading. They have 6 points here. Okay, for the next material, will present by Anissa. Anissa?
Okay, first of all, am I audible? Okay, so here I'm going to explain to you assessing the interaction between reader and text, processes, and strategies. So this part will be speculative in nature and will explore how aspects of the reading process that have been recently considered to be unimportant can be assessed. Next slide, please. So as you can see on the screen, according to Lee, 1992 used introspective data to show, firstly, that subjects seldom reported using one skill alone in answering task questions. Secondly, that when the skills used corresponded to the test constructor's intentions, the students did not necessarily get the answer correct. And thirdly, that the student answered correctly with lists using skills that the task constructor had not identified. He grouped his result into two types, predicted and unpredicted. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide will be explained about learner strategies. As you can see on the screen, there are 3 learner strategies. The first one is language learning behavior. The second one is what learners know about the strategies they use. And the last one is what learners know about aspect of L2 learning other than the strategies they use. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, in this last part, there are 10 reading strategies, but maybe I'm going to explain only 5. Okay, according to Rubin Seeds, the following strategies identified in Hosfeld studies of Cindy, how to be successful contextual guesser. The first one is keep the meaning of passage in mind while reading and use to predict meaning. The second one, skip unfamiliar words and guess their meaning from the remaining words in a sentence or later sentences. And the third one, circle back in the text to bring in mind previous context to decode an unfamiliar word. And the next one, identify the grammatical function of unfamiliar word before guessing its meaning. And the last one is examine the illustration and use information contained in the decoding. Okay, maybe that's all from me. I give it back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, presenters. And that's all for our material on how to assess reading. And that's all from us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.